Literature and morality. Two schools of thought. There are two schools of thought holding opposite views about literature or art in general. The view of the moralists, philosophers and Puritans is that the writer does, and inevitably does, influence the lives and character of his readers, and therefore he should try to be a good influence. The view of aesthetes, who believe in the theory of art for art's sake, is that, on the contrary, the writer cannot influence his readers, or, alternatively, that he can, but must never try. For them literature is wine. Only its pleasure value matters. Art for art's sake. Its important champion was Gautier, who believed that art is not merely amoral, but anti-moral. Flaubert, a great novelist of France, who also believed in this theory, remarked, "No great poet has ever drawn conclusions." Baudelaire, another great writer, pronounced, "Poetry has no end beyond itself." Oscar Wilde. Pater was Oscar Wilde, who went a good deal further. He remarked, "There is no such thing as a moral or immoral book. Books are well written or badly written. That is all. No artist has ethical sympathies. An ethical sympathy in an artist is an unpardonable mannerism. All art is quite useless." Different remarks. Plato and Aristotle both lay emphasis on the moral value of literature. Sir Philip Sidney in his Apology for Poetry argues that the value of creative literature lies in the fact that by adding emotional appeal to the finer human qualities, it can do more to make men finer than the philosophers can. Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson seems to fluctuate in his view about the moral value of literature. From Shakespeare, he thinks, one might collect a system of civil and economical prudence, and yet, he feels, Shakespeare seems to write without any moral purpose. The only end of writing is to enable the reader better to enjoy life, or better to endure it. Romantic period. In the Romantic period, Shelley remarked, "Shakespeare, Dante, and Milton are philosophers of the loftiest power." Wordsworth emphasized the didactic element in literature when he remarked, "I am nothing if not a teacher." Keats also, who was a worshipper of beauty, wrote in Sleep and Poetry that the great end of poetry is that it should be a friend to soothe the cares and lift the thoughts of men. Victorian period. In the Victorian period, Matthew Arnold made a slight concession to the ethical demands of his age by defining poetry as the criticism of life. But Ruskin was the most emphatic in his view of the moral value of art and literature. According to him, art in the higher sense is supremely useful, in that it enables man to fulfill his real function, which is to be the witness of the glory of God and to advance that glory by his reasonable obedience and resultant happiness. 19th century. Another great writer of the 19th century who laid great stress on the moral aspect of art and literature was Tolstoy. According to him, art is a means of union among men, joining them together in the same feeling, and indispensable for the life and progress towards well-being of individuals and humanity. Some 20th century writers have followed Tolstoy's views in a milder form. H. G. Wells remarked that the writer should class himself, not with the artists, but with the teachers, the priests, and the prophets. Conclusion. The main purpose of literature, as we have already pointed out, is to give aesthetic pleasure, but it is wrong to say that literature should be amoral or anti-moral. On the other hand, the business of the literary artist is not to teach, but to exhibit. But we admit that moral considerations cannot fail to enter into the subject matter of every artist who is handling life and character. Morality, being one of the principal issues in life, belongs to the very fiber and texture of all literature. It cannot be otherwise, for life is its subject matter. Thank you.